Like, where you come from? Where you at? Where you? So we learning on this thing together. Okay. I figured that would be best. It's the best situation, anyways, for all of us. We learning at the same damn time. I did listen, and I was like, oh, subconscious, unconscious. It's that simple. This is my left. This is the right. I'm back neatly tucked in my little spots. Simply because it is nice, beautiful day. And I'm enjoying the weather. I've been out in the weather. I need to go touch grass. That's what I really need to do. So, we're going to be talking about, okay, topic of discussion. Can I do that? Let me see. Let me see what I could do. What the hell? Community moderation. So I was good. So that's why. Okay. So I did change a feature to the community. You have to subscribe in order to comment. If you're not subscribed, you won't be able to comment. I like that feature. I believe that's a fair feature. Um, I typically usually don't, mind because not everybody has the same like mindset of trolling. But for those who do love to troll and don't want to subscribe, it's also a beautiful feature to keep the riffraff out. So I like it. I do like that. I'm gonna do that for myself. It's less stress for me. It lets me know, and it lets y'all know who is a regular, who's coming in, and who's going out. So let's do this. Excuse me. Excuse me. Excuse me. Ooh. Hmm. Ooh wee. That's why I was so quiet yesterday. Very quiet. And I kind of figured that too. The little stalker harasser I was trying to get up out of here from playing. Because I pretty much caught him energetically and I knew it. This person would go in and out the chat, change their picture, and say different things like I was a complete idiot. I tell people all the time I'm an energetic reader, telekinesis, telekinetics. Yeah. Empathic, very empathic, Hyoka empath, if you want to put a label on it. Super empath, empath.com, empath. What am I looking for? Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm gonna have to put it on silent. Totally silent. I just seen four. I just seen four. Let me break it down. Look. Okay, so today's topic of discussion is I hit the refresh button today. Okay. So we're going to refresh as much as possible. Karma. Oh, okay. So topic of discussion is pretty much the subjective mind. What is the subjective mind? The subjective mind has to do with pretty much point of view. Predictive programming is one of them. I am distracting myself because I can see myself moving, but it's like bird. No, what does he say? I don't know. I forgot what he says. Off of home, the little dog, he gets distracted real quick. So, anyways, the subjective mind, right? The subjective mind is pretty much different people's perspective. MK Ultra. So, psychological warfare. Oh my God. Y'all. We've been fighting all my life. I had to fight. We done had to fight all our lives, and we didn't even know what our parents didn't even know it. Luckily, for those parents that did know, y'all had a different upbringing. It's definitely more spiritual and more awareness to what was going on in your surroundings. Congratulations to helping the other rest of the collective before we became awoke. Thank you. And thank you to your parents, for the collective consciousness. So the unconscious and conscious mind, this is pretty much what the subjective mind concludes, is the conscious mind and the unconscious mind. What you are aware of, what you are not aware of, okay? Predictive programming, MK Ultra, psychological warfare, predictive programming, right? Pretty much what you're taught as to what actually works for you is opposed to what works against you, okay? The objective here is to become aware of all of these different dualities and perspectives and what people try to entrap you in, and know that you are not constricted to one or the other, that you are a whole body and full mask of energy, of evolution. So technically, them putting you in a box is the evolution, the evolution of your spiritual body. It's a form of how they call binding. Okay, word magic. This is how word magic is used. People that are speaking bad against you, like you'll never be anything, you'll never amount to nothing. Those typical things that are said in the horrible teenage and preteen, in 1, 2-year-old, 3, 4, 4-year-old, 5-year-old, things that are told to children that are despicable to hear that come out of anyone's mouth to speak to any person, no matter the age, right? So these things are paid out in real life, and people seem to think that when they see this on a movie that this is something that is normal, and it's not normal. It's not normal, nor is it okay to go through Stockholm syndrome and be okay that you look up to your abuser and you still want to be connected to your abuser, even though your abuser is restricting you and abusing you financially, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, or verbally. God forbid, physically, right? But there's various different ways, psychologically, spiritually, that people can abuse you. And it has to do with all the minds inside of you that are attached to your survival, your creativity, who you are, what your purpose is here on earth, and your finances, your knowledge, your spiritual awareness. Okay, so pretty much putting us through this hazing type of phase, right? It really much is hazing, which is like beating you up, whether it be actually or verbally or whatever type of abuse, right? After that grooming type Stockholm syndrome behavior, then ultimately, then and before, in whatever form it is used, is destiny swapping, is a real thing that opposes karma. How is this a thing? Destiny swapping, because someone wants to walk in your energy, that is siphoning your energy, that is feeding off of your lose, your fear, um, your unawareness, conscious mind, subconscious mind. They're feeding on your subconscious mind predictive programming and programming you to be a certain way around them, walking on eggshells or whatever, or end up pretty much being your ego at a certain point, because you will defend yourself by any means necessary after you get tired or uh, hopefully not be recycled and not growing into who you are, because it would be a great defeat for yourself, and would further help them destiny swap and soul siphon off of you, because in that state you're not always able to move on, and they can use your energy and or um, keeping you small and keeping you out of your purpose via destiny swapping, will ultimately keep them away from their karma. Okay, but karma does not need address. 1212, as I say that, higher wisdom and knowledge. Let's get that down, because I've seen it before I've seen it. Thank you. So, somebody's crying. Destiny swiping, right? Them wanting to live in your spiritual destiny. You not knowing what your soul star, your soul purpose here on earth is. You not even ascending from the first to or the second to the third chakra, keeping you in fight or flight mode pretty much most of your life. So, and literally one person pops in and pops out. Confirmation. Try to play me as confirmation. Have shit on lock incarceration. Your ass. That ass is mine. Watch. Gone. So, anyways, destiny swapping, right? The opposition of the perspective of destiny swapping is karma. They don't want to live out the karma life they had previously created. What they deem that sucks, that is lesser than what they deserve, type of energy, in putting you in a state of, or your soul, in whatever body you may have came through in a point of circle, right? Ultimately. So, karma, 111, angel numbers, 111, 1010, 1111, 333, 444, 1212, and 1313. Oh, Forward Foundation Infinite. Okay. Forward 4 is 8 is the infinite number. Highest wisdom and knowledge. Higher wisdom and knowledge, they don't want you to become aware that you can definitely move in between worlds and in between dimensions, which is, ultimately healing from the trauma, from whatever it may have been, and moving into your higher realms. So now we're going to get into the video, now that we have pretty much the basic line understanding of 1, 2, and 3 chakras, your root chakra, your sacral chakra, and your solar plexus. Okay? And you do have way more than 7 chakras, but on this realm, shit, at least if you can get through those, you can definitely make it to the other ones. Where is the one? Let me see. Hold on. Don't make me silent. I'm seeing Susie. Why ADHD makes you better at meditation and meditating. Probably the obsessive being able to focus on. See, and that's another thing with spirituality. Jesus, let me tell y'all, the ability to meditate with whatever you are doing. Thank you for the like, share, subscribe. The ability to meditate on multiple different things and also be functioning and physically doing something else and thinking you're using like your creativity, right? So when you can use your creativity and your passion and who you are and becoming who you are in all of your chakras, the meditation and the focus can be actually you'll be faster at healing once you can get that focus on point. It's a really good thing. So it's not so much a bad thing, it's just where the focus should be on and the abilities to do so. So let's get started with the video because I don't want to make this video too extra long, but it's good. It's good. Oh, it's not playing.
How is it possible that your perception of the world around you depends more heavily on your subconscious mind's interpretation of it than it does on perceiving the world as it exists? How can two people have a completely different experience of the exact same thing? In this video at On the Mind, we are going to look at how the subjective lens of the subconscious mind influences our experience of reality.
So this is a YouTube channel, On the Mind. And it has like a half a mind with a little 2 leaves coming out of it. Okay. Just so you guys know where you can go find this information. Ooh. Hold on. And when was this video made? 4 years ago. It was made 4 years ago. And it's called The Subjective Mind versus Objectivity, How the Mind Influences Reality. Okay?
Objectivity. In our previous video titled, What is the Subconscious Mind?, which you can check out by clicking the link at the top right of your screen, we talked about how we each have a subjective experience of the objective world around us. This is how two people can have a radically different experience of the exact same thing. Let's look at an example. Imagine two people, we will say John and Elizabeth, are on a walk, and it suddenly begins to rain. John looks up at the sky and curses the rain as he shakes his fist at the clouds. "No, it's raining," he says. As John curses the sky, Elizabeth takes off running and jumps in puddle after puddle, throws her hands up in the air and yells, "Yes, it's raining." You see, objectively, it is raining. Nothing more or nothing less. The rain will continue coming down regardless of how either John or Elizabeth feel about it. And it would have rained whether they were there to experience it or not. It exists independently, outside of their perception of it. The fact that it is raining is wholly objective, but John and Elizabeth each have their own personal experience of this objective reality, in terms of how it relates to them, and this is known as the subjective experience. Subjectivity. As Thoreau once beautifully said, it is not what you look at that matters, it is what you see. How John and Elizabeth feel about the rain exists solely in their mind and nowhere else. Their subjective experience of the rain is fully based on or influenced by personal feelings or opinions they have gathered from their past experiences. For example, what if John is an avid golfer? If he likes to play golf daily, there is no wonder why the rain is a negative thing to him, because
when they use golf as a point of view, I was like, oh God, I really don't even want to think about golf right now. I used to love golf. I would still play golf though. But thinking of those simple objectives and perspectives of one likes rain, one doesn't, and they're based off of their experiences, right? And we talk about that a lot. The experience of makes you knowledgeable of that lifestyle and relatable to understanding somebody that has had that same type of experience, right? So it's totally different from someone that hasn't had that experience or the reasonings behind why they don't like the experience, and to the opposite side is why they do like the experience.
his hobby is interrupted by it. In his mind, he has labeled the rain a barrier that stands between him and what he wants to be doing during that time. On the other hand, maybe Elizabeth is a meteorologist with ongoing research related to rain. To her, rain offers data and insight that she can use on her most current work. When she sees rain, she sees opportunity. But when John sees rain, he sees opportunity being taken away. So just as John has his reasons to despise the rain, Elizabeth has her reasons to adore it. But in either case, rain is just rain, and it will forever hold on to that objective quality. The only subjective quality of the rain in our example is how John and Elizabeth feel about it. But objectively, it is just rain. A thought experiment. The next time.
So, before we move forward, hold on. Okay. Fuck it.
Example is how John and Elizabeth feel about it, but objectively, it is just rain. A thought experiment. The next time you experience rain, try to experience it as just that, rain. Regardless of how it affects you or your plans, and regardless of how you initially feel about it, just allow it to be rain. You do not have to feel any more than that. If you practice this enough, you will soon find that you have a new appreciation for the simplicity of rain. You will realize that there is no need to cast judgment and form opinions about everything we experience in our day-to-day lives. This perspective can be applied far beyond your judgment of the weather as well. But although we can separate ourselves from the subjective lens of our mind for brief moments with enough perspective, it's quite impossible to toss it away altogether. The world we perceive subjectively is created and largely influenced by the information we've stored in our subconscious mind. These beliefs and prejudices are based on our experience from the past and can never be downright discarded, but they can certainly be altered to the extent that we learn to control the impulses they bring forth.
So, they can be used to work towards the things that, that are coming or will come in our future, right? Meaning you don't have to have such a subjective to the objective and feel as if it's so much of a as it has a adverse effect on you, you can choose not to even entertain it, right? which is a lot of what I was doing, like in the people in the comment section. But there's times when I let somebody know, like, hey, you're going too far. You don't have no experience of what you're talking about. You're just going over here trying to be mean, or you're having a bad day and you're trying to piss in somebody else's Cheerios. They ain't even got piss in it. You just a pissy person because you just feel like you better than everybody. So that's your objective to everybody's subjective to the subject at hand. So yes, so far in that video, is very accurate, and we see how very much so how they can, like I said, it has to do with motherfuckers minding their business and other motherfuckers just really not minding their business. I have never been kicked out nor blocked from anybody's fucking platform for minding my business. And 9 times out of 10, I was fucking there. But when, you know what I mean? You can give your opinion, you know what I'm saying? But opinions are different than really trying to put somebody down as opposed to giving them guidance. You know what I'm saying? There's a difference between what you say to people and what you mean in what you're trying to, if you're trying to make them triggered or feel some type of way, or because you oppose their opinion, you want to make them feel some type of way. Mind your business. Just keep going. Just go to the stuff that you want to stick with because you're not ready to learn or heal, grow, or evolve from what you know. Admit that. Get off of the step of denial that you can't mind your own business. You know what I'm saying? Some things are just best to walk away from, especially if you don't agree with it. So, but we find out that, some species and the people that don't know how to do that, and there's just some species of people that picked up bad habits are the ones that don't know how to do business. Objective and subjective, but we still can choose to mind our business because that's something they have to deal with interpersonally.
Awaken
right?
to a world of wonder.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. On to the next video, and we're right at 30 minutes. Ken Curry Knight YouTube channel. Kickinger on truth, subjective, and objective. Okay. Let's see what you want to say. Oh, that's not what I wanted to hit. Is he gonna say anything? Oh, damn.
22 books. All he knew at the time was that he really loved thinking and he might try his hand at studying law.
Wait a minute.
Was trying to figure out what to do.
Okay, start it over.
In 1835, a Dane.
1835. And I would walk 500 miles an hour. I would walk 500 more. I don't know where the fuck that came from, but it is a random message. It's never that, but we'll see.
Named Soren Kierkegaard was trying to figure out what to do with his life. He had no way of knowing that he would go down in history as the philosopher who inspired existentialism, or that he'd authored 22 books. 22 books. All he knew at the time was that he really loved thinking and he might try his hand at studying law, a discipline that he knew didn't really excite him very much. In a journal entry, he put the problem this way. The thing is to understand myself, to see what God really wishes me to do. The thing is to find a truth which is true for me, to find the idea for which I can live and die. The truth that is true for me. That's not the way we normally think about what's true. If water's boiling point truly is 212 degrees Fahrenheit, does it matter whether that truth is true for you? Isn't it?
It does. It does. It really does. Because let me tell y'all something that's really fucking funny, right? When I was young, right, I've always had a different way of thinking. And my dad got this book, right? He got this book that had Snoopy on it, and it would ask questions like to ask the children and to see their reaction and their thought forms of what they would come up with and how, their perspective, right? So he asked me, how does the caterpillar move? I said, they scrunch up and then they go. They scrunch up and then they go. And he fell out laughing. He thought that was the most funniest shit ever. And then for me, what I seen is when I used to pop popcorn, I used to put 1 minute and 50 seconds. But I would put 150. I would put 150 and my popcorn would be popped perfectly. I said, okay, I'm gonna put it for 1 minute and 50 seconds. Which technically it is, but to me it didn't make sense because it would go from 100 to 60. I don't know. I can't really explain it how it makes sense because it just made sense. It would say, pop your popcorn at this amount, but it would be too much or it wouldn't be enough. So ultimately, I figured out 150 was the perfect timing for my popcorn to be popped just the way I wanted it to be popped.
True for everybody? In a work called Concluding Unscientific Postscript, Kierkegaard explains the differentiation that we'll talk about in this video between objective truth and subjective truth. And because I work in a college of education, I also want to explain how this idea has everything to do with how we should think about education. Okay, in this book, The Concluding Unscientific Postscript, Kierkegaard, or rather his pseudonym, Johann Climacus, is writing about Christianity, the faith in which Kierkegaard much believed. Kierkegaard's problem with how Christianity was normally practiced is that it was too cerebral. People talked about proofs of the Christian God, or when they doubted, they expected an argument that would convince them about the truth of Christianity. Kierkegaard thought this misunderstood the entire nature of being a Christian, not because Christianity can't be argued for, he was a Christian after all, or for some watered-down slogan like, you just gotta have faith. Kierkegaard believed that to be a Christian, you didn't need to find Christianity intellectually satisfying as much as you needed to find it compelling, the type of compelling that affects your being. You needn't be convinced as much as you need to assent. Here, Kierkegaard distinguishes between the two ways one can think about truth. Truth as objective and truth as subjective. Most of us think about truth as an objective thing. It's what we mean when we hear phrases like, the truth is out there. There's a state of the world, and certain things are true about that world, regardless of whether we find them compelling. Kierkegaard had no problem with the idea of objective truth, but he thought that there was another often overlooked and vital side to the truth coin. It's the type of truth we have in mind when we say something more like, the truth will set you free. In order for an objective truth to set you free, you need to recognize it as truth. It needs to mean something to you as truth. Here's how Kierkegaard...
Now, this is very fucking interesting. Y'all remember the Devil's Advocate and how the guy was so good, he never lost a case. And he got a molester, raper off, no charges. The convincing of what's true. But does it really work for you? What is the intention? Because I was like, in spirituality, you understand, like they said, the English language is a double entendre. Every word is like a double meaning, triple meaning, fucking quadruple meaning of one word out of all of the spectrums of the dictionary of whatever words we could possibly use. and how they can really twist their own meaning. They can say one thing and mean a whole nother. Their truth from your truth is a real thing. This is why I be like, don't come over here playing that word magic shit. I don't fucking play. I could read in between lines, like the energy. That's why you have to build up your discernment so you can understand people's perspective and their own meaning. Like it's crazy.
Kierkegaard puts the difference between objective and subjective truth. Here, in the concluding unscientific postscript, he's writing about subjective and objective approaches to Christianity. The inquiring subject must be in one or the other of two situations. Either he is in faith convinced of the truth of Christianity and in faith assured of his own relationship to it, in which case he cannot be infinitely interested in all the rest, since faith itself is the infinite interest of Christianity, and since every other interest may readily come to constitute a temptation, or the
Is faith only in Christianity? That's from his truth and his perspective. But faith is very vast. Faith can be in what will work for everybody, what will lead everyone to healing. But God knows, your higher self knows you still have to go through different experiences in order to have empathy. And we all know right now, one of the one things that they're using for people not to have empathy is the necessary dietary forms that they want you to format to or go to jail over. Like, what the fuck? Or unalive you for simply because, and let me tell y'all this. I just found a short and I'm gonna post it in probably a clip from this video in the comment section below. Lobster used to be fed to people in prison in like the 1800s or something like that. It was considered like an embarrassment, a belittling of people. Why? Why is that? Because they wanted to use things against us that we knew not to use for our own dietary need, but they figured that they could use it as a profit. So anything they can use as a profit and they can put a financial gain on, which is opposing the healthcare system, period. The big pharma system, and I mean pharmaceuticals, taken out of their pockets for people that are in good health, that can get out of these toxic dietary uses. Hold on, these toxic dietary uses that are blocking people's nerves off from connecting to each other from those natural endorphins of happy feeling and natural nurturing loving feelings, that empathy feelings, but they deem so, oh, it's unnecessary. Get the objective from the subjective.
The inquirer is, on the other hand, not in an attitude of faith, but objectively in an attitude of contemplation, and hence not infinitely interested in the determination of the question. What he's saying here is that if Christianity touches you in something other than a cerebral way, it really affects your core, you literally have no need to prove Christianity's correctness in any objective cerebral sense. You could do that, of course, but it would be irrelevant. Like if you were offered an airtight intellectual argument that you don't exist, you're not going to accept it because at your very core you believe that you exist enough that proof is kind of beside the point. It's only when Christianity does not affect your core that Kierkegaard thinks a person would need to rely on an intellectual argument. So when we talk about truths, we can talk about them in both ways, even if we too often...
When you cannot rely on Christianity, then you would have to rely on logic. Isn't that interesting? The knowledge.
often overlook the importance of that latter piece. There is the objective side of affairs that is true, and what we recognize and believe to be truth, the subjective part. In fact, when you talk about any particular truth, you're likely acknowledging both of these. You're saying that the thing you believe is actually true in the world, regardless of what anyone thinks, but you're also saying that you believe and recognize what you're talking about as the truth. You're probably also implying that the truths that you're bringing up matter for some reason, which is why you're bringing them up. At this point, I want to clarify that Kierkegaard isn't saying that objective truths aren't necessary to get right, or that all there is to talking about truth is consulting your heart. It's that for objective truths to do their job, which is to get us to believe them and act accordingly, we need to be compelled to recognize them as truths, and that, Kierkegaard thinks, is not a job that the intellect alone can accomplish. It requires what Kierkegaard calls, again in the concluding unscientific postscript, the appropriation of truth. Here's what he writes. As for the relationship of the subject to the truth when he comes to know it, the assumption is that if only the truth be brought to light, its appropriation is a relatively unimportant matter, something which follows as a matter of course. And in any case, what happens to the individual is, in the last analysis, a matter of indifference. We often think that when folks are presented with objective truths and supporting arguments, they'll just recognize these truths as truths, that the truths backed with argument is sufficient. Ideally, maybe it is. But what Kierkegaard is saying is that there's an extra-rational process where we not only listen to the argument, but at some point decide to recognize it as a truth, decide to appropriate it. At some point, this means that there is just no such thing as a compelling argument in and of itself. Argument requires ears to judge them and people to find them compelling. If people don't find the argument compelling, the truth may still be objectively true and the person who rejected it wrong, but the truth will not be believed to be a truth. Here's where I want to get into education. I can come at the difference between objective and subjective truths this way. Back when I was a high school teacher, I taught in a science classroom and we were preparing for statewide standardized tests. Stop talking.
Oh.
We learned a lot about the Darwinian theory of evolution by natural and sexual selection in a
Darwin?
science classroom, and we were preparing for the truth. Here's where I want to get into education. I can come at the difference between objective and subjective truths this way. Back when I was a high school teacher, I taught in a science classroom, and we were preparing for statewide standardized tests. Since it was a biology class, we'd learned a lot about the Darwinian theory of evolution by natural and sexual selection. One question on this practice
Darwin. Now, is Darwin? I don't think he's that weird ass dude. The one that came up with the cultic magic, the one with the pyramid on his head and shit.
Practice test was about which of the following options was best evidence for macroevolution. One of my students, who's a religious fundamentalist, took me aside and asked for my advice. She said that she couldn't in good faith answer the question the way she wanted because the religion she was deeply convinced of held that there was no good evidence for macroevolution. I told her she had two realistic options: either skip and refuse the question, or answer it in the way she thought the testers wanted while being free to believe that the question and her answer was illegitimate. From what I recall, she did the latter. Now, what did she accomplish in giving that answer? Well, I'm sure the school, the state, and the curriculum writers wanted her not only to recite the answer, but come to believe the answer. Not just to say that Darwinian evolution is true because blah blah some teacher wants me to, but to recognize it as a truth that is true for her. But really, all she did was craft an insincere answer to the question. It's like saying, yay.
So, no, I'm thinking of Aleister Crowley. No, it's not him.
Yeah, I know you all say evolution is true, and I'll tell you that so I can get the grade and get on
Probably
with
wouldn't be
things,
far from
but
the truth.
whatever. In Kierkegaardian parlance, the curriculum writers and state assumed that if we were to teach the objective truth, expose students to the best evidence and argument, that would be sufficient. They now know the truth, and their appropriation of it into their lives will be a matter of course. But do they? If you ask the student, she'd say that she doesn't know evolution to be true. She'd just say that those in power, the scientists, the curriculum writers, say that it's true and that she's supposed to recite that it's true. Now, I'd say that her refusal to know the truth of evolution is wrong, and that as best we can tell, evolution is the best story of how species came to exist. But until she changes her mind, she doesn't know that evolution is true in the subjective sense. She hasn't appropriated it into her mental model of truths about the world. There's something important to clarify here. To be a truth that is true for you, Kierkegaard's subjective truth, it isn't just to be passionate about some idea. Kierkegaard kind of implies that maybe that's ultimately what he means, but I don't think passion for an idea is necessary or sufficient for the thing to be subjectively true. Many students are not passionate about the Darwinian theory of evolution, but they still recognize it as true in some subjective sense. Their mental models of the world now include this idea of evolution in it. In Kierkegaardian language, they have appropriated that truth by not just being able to mouth the words, but going some extra step. Also, again, none of this talk about subjective truth means that objective truth is just a matter of opinion, or that your truth is different from my truth, or that we can never be wrong about what's true. In an objective sense, what is true about the world is true regardless of whether you subjectively appropriate it into your mental model of truths. But the other side of the coin is that it isn't terribly sufficient to just be told truths. In order for truths to do their job as truths, we must come to believe that they're truths and act accordingly. Objective truths that no one believes subjectively are next to you.
Knowing that they are true and acting accordingly, being productive in resolve is an A plus for me. A plus, infinite plus, hey, there we go. As I'm getting chills. Yes. That is infinite for me, for real. Taking course of action to have a resolve. Not a brutality to territory and fucking type of resolve. A resolve of healing, opportunity to heal. Like I was just thinking, I could see him taking away no taxes for everybody, not just for a certain group of people, for everyone, and then raising the pay. So, we can afford to pay rent, afford to pay food like they do, in foreign countries, like in Italy or whatever, X, Y, and Z, right? But still address the issues of children, people coming up missing, child trafficking, sex trafficking, drug trafficking, escorts or whatever, right? Still focusing on that. Those injustices, sexual assaults and things like that, people being drugged and, yeah, we need to justifiably still take care of those things and figure those things out. Taking the pressure off and not making it just a broken society, even though those things should be put into place before they are absolutely taken away, especially given the way that the per hour wage is not even fair for the people that actually work. Given that the limitations that people have for work, if they're really trying and changing their life or whatever, and focusing on just working or whatever, it's still not fair. Why? Because in a single parent home, even with 2 fucking jobs, you cannot just get you can afford 1 bedroom, honestly. Not in today's society. It's ridiculous. The amount of rent anywhere is ridiculous. So, hell, to me, the pay would have to be over fucking $50. Not gonna lie. The pay would have to be over $50, and even still in that, rent would need to drop. Certain programs would have to be put into place for people, for rehabilitation, for drugs, for sexual trauma, for psychological trauma, spiritual trauma, shit. Let's not leave no type of trauma out, you know? Um, the trauma of this reality is not really spiritual trauma. So there's more programs that need to be had, and like I said, it would have to be over $50 seriously for pay per hour, simply because of the healing matters. And they would, I mean, shit, they would have to figure that out, you know, and not be messing with people's free will, and let people have free will to do what they need to do in order for healing. But if they're going to use it for other things other than that, like for the demise of somewhere else, like, no, hell no. That should be absolutely no, you know. So there's definitely things that needs to be put into place as far as these certain constituents, that these foreign people that came in and made these fucking foreign ass rules and fucking books to go by, and goddamn, it's motherfucking crazy. No.
To useless. The role of education can't just be to present truths. It must aim at convincing us that these things are true, excite us about what those truths might mean for us, and get
It must aim it to convince and persuasion and what? I like the way this is being worded. It still sounds like fucking a type of fucking psychosis that we really don't fucking need. That's a delusional one. Especially if it's not created. And that's what she looks like. Like, I'm tired of hearing this bullshit. Um, but you know, we just don't need any more psychosis for real. We have enough fucking mental health issues and fucking triggers and traumas that we deal with on a regular basis with what we have here today. And now we see why we have those here today, because of this basic logic of one way thinking. Uh, it just really depends on the person's intentions, like I say, and people still have to be able to have their own free will. But if the guidance is not there, it's like going to be, we have to fight for our own independence and wisdom and knowledge, honestly. Because had I never took the hints, step foot forward of educating myself on these different topics, I wouldn't know shit. I wouldn't know nothing at all. Anything.
us to see objective truths as truths that are true for me. I'll conclude by saying that I think we don't focus on that frankly more emotional part of the transaction because it's messier than the intellectual part.
Because it's messier. Look at how they put emotions out there as messy. Yes, emotions are chaos. It is feminine energy. But the downplay of emotions, they feel like, oh, being empathetic is messy. No, it's not fucking messy. It's not even that fucking hard to do. See, if being empathetic was so fucking hard to do, why would you have to make up all these fucking lies and poison people? Quite literally, with rat poison and fucking cinnamon toast crunch and etc. It's legal for the FDA to do it. It's illegal for everybody else to do it. Of course, with great means, but like, y'all literally put it in the fucking cereal. For people to eat. And call it legal. Now, I, for one, think they should go to fucking jail. Um, like, fuck the reparations, like, nigga, it just does not stop. Like, what the fuck? Like, where's the logic in that? And what they're actually doing to the food right now. So I should be like, what the fuck? But I'm supposed to be not emotional to that as well. We're not supposed to be have emotions toward anything. Do y'all understand the words that are coming out of my mouth? That's not what I wanted to say, but that's what ended up happening. Why? Yo, emotions are messy? No, they're not. Emotions are not messy. Emotions is what kept me alive. Emotions, having emotions is what helped me want to help others, to be an example of who I need to be, for them to understand that they can also still thrive and survive and be okay through rhetoric and bullshit that we actually experience in real life that affects us. Like, white people, for real, they don't feel until they have to be set down. As such as people have to have that experience or have had that experience, already know better and they want to do better, they don't want to have that experience again, they don't really truly understand. I see that for facts. They do not understand unless they have to go through it, y'all. It's fucking insane. And then they beat our older generation in pretty much into submission to where they're like, there they go, massa. That's the one. Or they just reject you as a family, friend, relative, what the fuck ever, because you didn't submit. The fuck? Emotion out of that. Be emotionless. Just, bitch, fuck you. I'm going home. Like, bitch, where you going home to? Because that bitch, that motherfucking house been burnt down and you wasn't aware, you wasn't there. You didn't feel the house burned down, and you think you still got a house to go to. Like, where's the logic in that? The emotionalness of it. Like, FEMA has been defunded. Where's that money going to? I mean, fuck that. Let's go back just a little bit more. Since people want to go back, let's go back a little bit more. All the money that was sent to Africa, all the money that was sent to the Cancer Research Center, bro. I have worked in stores that then people stay giving charity and tips and donations to fucking cancer research or children with cancer or people with cancer, whatever, right? And this is Cancer Month. It's October. People have cancer because of what the fuck they eat. But y'all swear to God, y'all ain't got a cure. But y'all swear to God, emotions are messy. These people are shut off from their happy natural endorphins. This is why. What the fuck is that shit called? I didn't. I didn't even write it down. The zoo thing. Wait, let me see. I just went over this. Did we go? Yeah, we did go over a video with it about it. Excuse me. It should come up in my search bar. There it goes. Zoochosis. So the zoochosis. Let me write this down. Zoochosis. So y'all mean to tell me? And then here's the thing. Where did all that money go? Where has all the money still been going to? Like, make it make sense. Y'all getting money for people that have cancer, but y'all still not focusing on cleansing the food because that will actually stop people from having cancer. People getting immune shots, that will actually get them. This will actually get them from being like zoochosis, out of zoochosis. Like, they will understand that they're not really lonely. That loneliness is not a bad thing. That loneliness is an illusion. That they would be really happier by themselves if they learn how to heal. Like, bro, they would learn how to heal. Zoochosis, no, cocus. Oh Lord, no, Jesus, please. God, trying to be funny right now. So, anyways, it doesn't make sense, and it frustrates me, and it does make me emotional when I see the logic in their ill legitimacy to fucking take responsibility. This is something they're never going to take responsibility for, but they're only going to make us suffer for. The accountability for them is always going to be out the fucking window. They take no accountability. Because they don't know how to be alone. They don't know how to run the business. They don't know. And for people that don't know how to be alone, they don't even understand how that's a toxic codependency. And how ultimately that type of anxiety-ridden life will lead you straight to your undemising time of being ejected from your body and being gone from this earth to be recycled into the same energy you just left out of, because ultimately you weren't taught or given the opportunity by via food to heighten your awareness, your subconscious mind. Because on everything that I love, I would rather at least have the very thing that created the fruit and the vegetables and the water. Like, fuck, at least if I could have water. Because that's what made everything else grow and be able to exist, is water. At least water. Like I told y'all, go watch Rango. This shit is fucking programming as manipulation. Gaslighting on fucking 1,000. I was livid. I'm still livid when I think about how bad it pisses me off that they sit up here and they lie and they don't take accountability and they project as if that is our fault. We did not ask to be put in a fucking zoo. We did not ask to be imprisoned unwillfully as we have been made to be, nor to keep everyone else in the desire of having psychosis from realizing the lies and the logic that is bullshit that everybody has been subjected to the point that we have to take so much time to take deep breaths and connect their neurons and their electrodes so they can come to the whole conclusion that they are living a lie. And it's toxic codependency. And you have parasites that are in you that feed off of you because people that want to rule the world put them in your food, in the air, and wherever else they may be. And only plants, alkaline, can cleanse it out of your body and make you new again. I'm whispering because I really want to yell. And if I yell, I'm going to regret it. It's going to hurt. So I had to whisper. Because guess what? You get more bees with sugar. And shit look like sugar. And then we have to convince people. Not even convince people, it's just like we have to like connect their neurons from where they're disconnected at, which is their fucking emotions, to understand that they're being lied to. It's frustrating. But thank God for videos. Thank God for Bumblebee. Because we can put this shit together and we can make it make sense. From the fallen angels aspect. Everything with logic, no empathy. So you've made this experience very bad.
So far as we're different people with different internal states and stores of beliefs and emotional lives, it's quite possible that an argument that would convince you that a thing is true would fail to convince me, and that I'll be more compelled to believe this while you believe that. And of course, all we want, especially schools, is for all of us to be presented with truths and accept all of them in common, coming to hold the same beliefs about what is true. Frankly, Kierkegaard messes up this aspiration, and for that,
let's give them go-tos, how to do, and make it law. So it has to be right. And if they step out of line, they're going to get punished. They're going to get unalived. That's the only way you can make logic stick. Not playing by the game. The game is over. The cheat code. God damn it.
He's been called by some a relativist and others a postmodernist, but he has a point. In order for truths, even objective ones, to do their job, they must be acknowledged and appropriated as true.
Postmodernist. And what did the guy in this what did he say in this short video? He said, not just by being modern, 11111 as I say this, but knowing who you are. Why is it so important? We're going to go with that video. God damn it, we did. Now I'm going to get some more. We're going to juice this bitch for real.
True for the individual, and this doesn't seem like an entirely rational process. And that might just make the job of truth teller, and certainly truth receiver, all the harder.
Wait.
Might just make the job of acknowledged and appropriated.
I want to
For
hear him
that,
see it.
he's been called by some a relativist and others a postmodernist, but he has a point. In order for truths, even objective ones, to do their job, they must be acknowledged and appropriated as true for the individual. And this doesn't seem like an entirely rational process. And that might just make
it doesn't seem like an entirely rational process.
Make the job of truth teller, and certainly truth receiver, all the harder.
The truth teller and the truth receiver, that much harder. Where's that video? Damn it! Because now, when you make a circle and you just, bam! God, it's like, gotcha, bitch. Let's see. Oh, right here. Wait. Before we go to that video, this is what they said about the roach. About the roach. Oh shit, the roach. They're fucking roaches. Damn.
What? 1800s it was considered the poor man's protein. Lobster wasn't always a luxury food. In fact, from the 1600s to the 1800s it was considered the poor man's protein. In New England, lobsters were so abundant they would wash up on beaches in piles after storms, and because of their cheapness they were often fed to prisoners, slaves, and servants. Servants sometimes even had contracts stating they couldn't be forced to eat lobster more than 2 or 3 times a week, since it was seen as degrading. Farmers used lobsters as fertilizer or fishing bait rather than food. It wasn't until the late 19th century, when railroads and canning made lobster
fertilizer and fish bait
available to inland cities, that it gained popularity and transformed into the luxury dish it's known as today. Lobster wasn't...
because they learned how to make a profit off that shit. said I was gonna get a latch for that. I had it. Okay. Gotta hurry up and dance. Let's see. Let's see. Where is it? Where's the video? No, that's the. Wait. Is that the one that we were? Yeah, that is. That's the 9-minute video. Oh, it's already on mute. Hey, that's what I'm talking about.
Few months ago, actually almost 9 months ago, in October last year, I was researching around zoochosis. Right, zoochosis is when an animal goes into captivity, and by animal I mean like a tiger, monkey, or anything like that. When they go to captivity, they experience what's called zoochosis, which is they're out of their natural environment. They start to self-mutilate. They start to rock like that. They start to do bite themselves, pick at their skin, stuff like this, right? And I read a book at the time, which was what was it called? It was around gut.
Let's think about this on a spiritual level too. They're out of their environment on a spiritual level. They're not comfortable in their own skin. The walking back and forth, the picking at the skin, the self-mutilation. I'm not laughing because it's funny. I'm just like, damn. Like, you're not connected to your soul star, who you are. That's the problem. It's why I say angels and demons reside in you and other people. Some people choose to agree with their lowest form of themselves, and some people use, a balance between the both. And some people are just like really high vibration and angelic, and you know what I'm saying? They may not fight, but their ancestors will, their angels will, whatever, shit. Shout out to Ariel.
Health and bacteria and things like that. And it got me thinking about humans and what's their natural environment. So you mentioned that you're measuring, as you could say, different countries and different areas, specific areas. I wonder, I'll tell you why I wonder this, but I wonder if we as humans are experiencing our own version of zoochosis. Mm-hmm. Now, what I mean by that is we've been so animals, some are born in captivity, but some animals have been taken out of their natural environment and put into captivity. They experience these symptoms, right? But if it...
God just said, let me tell y'all what God just said. Things just ain't the same for gangsters. Time is changing. Young niggas is aging, becoming OGs in this game and changing to make way for these new names and faces. But the strangest thing whoa, I didn't know it was actually playing. Okay, wait.
When you find your true
Best friends and money, I lost the boat.
What part of the song? What?
All I used to know, just don't know me no more.
Oh, I moved out the hood for good. You playing me, niggas? Name niggas aim mainly and niggas they can't be. Oh shit! But niggas can't hit. Niggas they can't see. I'm out of sight now. I'm out of their damn reach. How would you feel if niggas wanted you killed? You probably move to a new house on a new hill and choose a new spot if niggas wanted you shot. I ain't the thug. How much Tupac and you got? Oh, this motherfucking gay shit. This motherfucking text gay. Hey, he said how much Tupac and you got? Damn. Yeah, I ain't no bitch either. It's either my life or your life. I ain't leaving, and I like breathing, nigga. We go round for round, click for click, shit, 4 pound for pound, nigga. If you really wanna make it, if you really wanna take it there, we can. Just remember, you fucking with a family man. I got a lot more to lose than you. Remember with that when you couldn't fill these shoes. But that ain't the part yet. We ain't at the part yet. Hopefully I didn't pass it. And I be running now, so I suggest you lay low. Watch. Boom, ding, boom, 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 ding, boom, boom, ding, boom, boom. These ain't the same for gangsters. Cops so anxious to niggas that to niggas in handcuffs. Cops is anxious to niggas in handcuffs. That's real facts though. And they wanna hang us, see us dead, or enslave us. This is the part I was talking about. Damn, I didn't know it said that. I knew it was something similar, but yeah. I mean, for word, I just be putting some shit together sometimes. It says these just ain't the same for gangsters. Cops is anxious to put niggas in handcuffs that wanna hang us, see us dead, or enslave us, keep us trapped in the same place we was raised in. Then they wonder why we act so outrageous, run around stressed out and pull out gauges. Cause every time you let animals out cages, it's dangerous to people who look like strangers. I believe this is kind of funny. Somebody just told me a story about monkeys being released, and they got the who shot John and all kind of shit going on. They got the diseases. They got the Rona. They got the goddamn shit. They got all the shit that they said these motherfuckers just be doing shit on purpose. I swear to God. Playing too much, experimenting too damn much. That's the gist of it. Shit just ain't the same for gangsters. Remember, gangs was created to keep us protected from the police. Cops is anxious to put niggas in handcuffs. They want to hang us, see us dead, or enslave us. Keep us trapped in the same place we was raised in. Then wonder why. Yeah. Want to keep us trapped in the same place we was raised in, meaning the hood. Even a tarot reader will say once you make it out the hood, like don't go back to the hood. Motherfuckers that want your spot, yeah, they gonna want you shot. Like for real, for real. The fuck? Jealous. Like everybody, there's enough money for everybody. Just like fucking crazy. Jealousy ain't got no face, no name, but jealousy. And that shit it be deceitful as fuck. Trapped in the same spot we was raised in. Then wonder why we act so outrageous. Run around stressed out and pull out gauges, pum pums. Because every time you let the animal out cages, oh, that's spiritual too. That's the lower self, that's entrapment. They can't, it's a whole fucking ritual. It's a whole ritual. So if they can keep you in a low vibrational state, in a low vibrational area, you let your animal out, your lower self out, is dangerous to people that look like strangers. Yeah, it is. And when you got people just they walk around in their animal mentality and they just in their logical mind, what you get? It's dangerous to people that look like strangers. It wouldn't just that apply to everybody. Okay, let's get back to this. Had to break that down.
Eventually, your captivity becomes your home, and you have these symptoms that perhaps aren't normal, right?
Your captivity, and then he said, your captivity becomes your home. And then you have these symptoms that are not normal. It's only normal to be in survival. It's not normal to be in survival all the damn time. And even more, added on more extremes of survival. It's not fair.
They experience these symptoms, right? But eventually, your captivity becomes your home, and you have these symptoms that perhaps aren't normal, right? So you look at the mental health issues, you could say there's a number of causes for that.
I noticed, because I wasn't just into Hidden Power University, no. I was looking at all kind of different perspectives, like I said. of different people and taking the good out of it for what will work and what would not work. You know what I'm saying? Switch it up, change it, flip it down. Oh no, some gotta work. I'm just saying. I noticed, I'm just using my ex as an example, right? My twin's dad. I use him as an example because he would actually try. He could actually felt the difference, but there's some things that he would just not let go. You know what I'm saying? I understand. Okay. But when it's whatever. But he would try. You know what I'm saying? Now, if he doing better for him, thank you, Jesus. But for anybody who takes the advice for what it is, the grounding, the changing the diet, the eating the different colors of fruits and vegetables, of the chakras, and flame focusing, meditating, walking at least 10 to 20 minutes a day. You know what I'm saying? Things to stimulate your natural endorphins, eating healthier, um, giving your mind, your body some reprieve from the stress that it undergoes without you even knowing it. This is not a natural way of living in how they have us confined. It's not. I don't give a fuck where you live. Whether it be a better neighborhood, the worst neighborhood is even worse. You know what I'm saying? That's how I was spazzing out. I was like, I wasn't spazzing out, but like internally, I was like, we gotta move. We got to fucking move. Like this is the worst case scenario to live here. And by like I said, that was one of the worst places that I had moved to. And recently I just moved away from another place that was just like it. And yeah, it was very bad. Low vibrational. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, God. Let's move on. But it's good for those who make a practice of prime example.
I wonder if the core granular problem is that we're living outside of what is natural to us. And we think it's normal to us because we're used to it. But really, how we're supposed to live is somewhat akin. Again, it's very general because each country had a different style of hunter and gathering. But we're supposed to live in alignment with this hunter-gatherer lifestyle. And to add to that, there's a bacterial strain called Lactobacillus reuteri. Right, there's been studies done to show that I think it's 91 or even maybe as high as 96, either one of those two, of Western population doesn't have this strain called Lactobacillus reuteri. And it's been lost through the advent of overusing antibiotics, modernization, the foods that we eat, emulsifiers, things like that. And this bacteria, right, it's responsible, or it assists in the process of, if it's not present, I should say, it decreases oxytocin. Oxytocin is the chemical known for us to want to create connection, to have empathy, to hold empathy. And something like 91 to 96% of people no longer have this bacteria in their stomach, right? So one would assume, and again, like the science is still emerging on this, but one would assume that if from our modern diet and modern living, we've lost this bacteria and therefore it's led to us even 3 to 4% less wanting to be compassionate or empathetic, how you measure that, I don't know, then one would assume that, and they measured hunter-gatherer tribes that exist today, and they have this bacteria in their stomach. So I wonder how much of our suffering as humans comes from not the attempt to modernize, but rather the attempt to come back to who we really are.
But the point of modernizing was to take us out of learning who we are. See, now, to know where you gotta go is to know where you came from. What happened before the before? What happened before the modernization? What was going on before then and what was going on before that is the clues in what needs to be concluded. Oh, then it kind of doesn't look like an 8. Here we go. It looks a little better. Infinitely, right? As above, so it is below. Now we just need to have people that fuck that. We don't need to have people that nothing. We need to come to the understanding for ourselves that there's some people that play the game and there's people that got the cheat codes. I want the cheat codes, damn it. And that's why they hate women, because we got the cheat codes. A lot of the women, a lot of the, the healed men, and then they're still missing some pieces, and then we're still missing some pieces. But we're learning. We're growing, we're healing and evolving. We're doing it, okay? It's a good thing. But the modernization is to learning who we are is of the utmost importance, is the whole point.
It comes from not the attempt to modernize, but rather the attempt to come back to who we really are.
Yeah, no, that's really insightful. I feel like that's stuff that I've thought about. It's really great to hear that there's science to kind of back that up. I feel like, probably if we're honest with ourselves, that resonates with all of us, I would think. Shouldn't make that assumption. But yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That's really insightful. I mean, something's going on, isn't it, with the all the different diagnoses and all the different diseases that are occurring. What is causing that? Why is all these things on the rise?
Autoimmune diseases, massively.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, there's something else as well. There's something known as old friend bacteria. And old friend bacteria, if I'm not mistaken, it's 3 different combinations of bacteria are found in our natural environment, right? So in the dirt, animals, by animals I mean dogs, horses, things like that. Just being in the dirt, right? This old friend bacteria, these 3 strains, we have less exposure to them. And they've shown, and I can send you the papers on this, it's very comprehensive, they've shown that people immigrating over to Western countries, like Australia, like America, the first generation experienced more autoimmune diseases and more inflammation in the body, which leads to various things, than those who stayed in their original country. And they found that because of urbanization. People weren't spending...
Than those who stay in the original country. I see a lot of resolve there.
As much time in the dirt. Like, if humans were to...
It's like, take your fucking opinions, take your family, take your generation. Take that shit back from what you came. Oh God!
Spend in nature what animals naturally do, like picking up dirt, and like some babies even put it over their face and whatever. I'm not saying to do that. I'm just saying. I'm making an observation.
Mud.
Then we don't get exposure to these bacteria, right? And this inflammation, right, it can lead to depression. It leads to autoimmune diseases. And this paper shows this very comprehensively. And that's another thing as well. Hence why I'm talking about zoochosis. Like, we're in this captivity, and we're over hygienic in a way. Like, we're afraid of germs. Like, germs. But we need germs because that's where the old friend bacteria are found, amongst other things, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a conversation I have with my husband a fair bit, because in our family, we have the spectrum of we're all for germs and those that aren't. So my lovely mother-in-law is like super hygienic, very clean, loves antibacterials. My father, his hygiene levels leave a lot to be desired. Like I remember living with him and seeing him just lick his plate and put it on the clean rack of the.
Oh, that's awful.
Absolutely not.
But he really believes in the value of germs. So I'm somewhere between the two. But yeah, we working out what's going to work for our little one. And yeah, I'm more of the, because of my upbringing, definitely roll in the dirt, eat the dirt, all of that. You're reminding me too, though, of another study that links, that looked into diseases and also the power of our subjective mind. So hence coming back to, why measuring subjective well-being actually is the indication of our well-being, because science has now started to prove that our subjective mind will actually influence our physical health. I kind of thought that was obvious, but now they've actually got science of that. And there was, the one about the monkeys that showed that, as well as like when they were left alone and isolated, their health deteriorated. But if put kind of with other monkeys, they could recover really quickly. But also in terms of our diseases, they say, like all our main diseases actually start kind of 10 years back, which is a set of 3 cells that, if inflamed for 10 years, lead to like our major diseases.
Wow.
That your subjective state of mind can influence that inflammation as well. So people with like chronic loneliness, more prone to chronic diseases. Whereas people can endure in, war-torn countries and be exposed to incredible amount of pressure from external factors. But again, if they have things like purpose and will to live, that can keep them in a very positive subjective state of mind that keeps all the inflammation markers at bay. So it was just like this other kind of science coming at it to say why measuring subjective well-being is actually a really important indicator of well-being, because subjective well-being can actually influence.
So I have a question, and you gotta come out. So Mama T, and her people, I understand it was like, okay, men are more so like parasites to women. Men, I think after a certain stage of maturity, women be like, hell no. And then, of course, we're not in our natural type of environment. This environment has been created for us to coexist in, right? Women be like, hell no, I'm good. Like, fuck the whole system. You know what I'm saying? I really don't want to be in a relationship. I just rather not be in a relationship and be to myself, or they want a separation connection, meaning that they want to have a sexual partner, or it may not even have to be a sexual partner. It could just be a partner that it kind of coexists with. But then that becomes problematic, because if the male is attracted and the female is not, or vice versa, if the female is attracted and the male is not, then that can become also a uncomfortable, volatile, situation, which is also still both in all characters not being in a natural environment. But yet again, the only resolve that can conclude is the healthy, healing dietary. Helps cognitive, helps the caring connection within for real to learn your purpose. Once you learn more of your purpose, you have more self control. You know what I'm saying? And you use your power, your root chakra energy to manifest things in your life. And you can manifest a partner that is, best suits you, possibly. But then, so I heard something else today. And I was like, damn, that makes fucking sense. Oh, shit. No. No. But, is you coming back to yourself, like, as whole and complete, and not really being with anybody else. That's it. It's you. But then I believe, like, once you do that and you can find a partner that is like you or whatever, y'all can definitely, then I see that happening now. And they know who they are, you know who you are, and healthy boundaries, that can still be a tango and a bit of a frustration, but with more self-discipline and self-control type situation could work. I see that working more, but even more so is like, you know what I'm saying? These motherfuckers that can't mind their business is a problem. They're a problem for themselves and other people. So it's like, what the fuck? Where's the resolve in that? You know what I'm saying? Where is it's not so much forced healing, but I believe that the exposure for the healing. But yes, this would affect Big Pharma. This would affect all those things. So, God damn it, they're like, fuck that shit. We take the food stamps because we don't want these motherfuckers to get on nothing healthy. Bullshit. Like, and it's like, what type of survival tactics do you have in your backpack? Like in your backpack. What survival tactics do you have, yo? There's all kind of survival tactics though in my KD Blast list, in my KD Black 2025 playlist. There are all kinds of survival tactics. I can tell you that right now. So there's ways of making it be winners. Like shit, like I said, it might be a fucked up winner. Might they, you know what I'm saying? Might need to stretch that money for them bills, for that food, for everything at this time because be overly responsible. I could tell you that right now. Be overly responsible. So, yeah, but just everybody got free will. So I can say, but they rather have people on survival and not know what to do, and rush and think and obviously at this point. Please like, share, and subscribe. Share. Not even if you care, just share. People need to know this information. Okay? So, I just remember some shit about Cardi B that, damn. When I say from the top to the bottom, these motherfuckers is crazy, yo.
Works out. physical being as
She
well.
is. Oh, that's the end of the okay. So here it is there. 2 hours. So men are like our lower selves, they're our animals, all built for survival. Spiritual gangsters. That makes sense. They need to be spiritual gangsters. Look, nose itch. Confirmation. They need to be spiritual gangsters. Keep their nose clean, or keep their hands clean. What? Oh, what? I think it better be the discoveries that prove humans are absolutely insane. I don't so much agree with that. I think by necessary possibilities, people choose to be insane. Yeah, people choose to just absolutely be crazy. So it's it's by choice. It's by choice. Jesus, fix it. I understand that, by any means necessary, that it's just people. Some people really have problems because they don't know who their soul star is. They don't know their sole purpose on this earth, on this realm, and others choose to play crazy in order to survive. And then, there's others that unfortunately had unfortunate events to, um, you know, make themselves survive. So that'll be it, y'all. Y'all never give up. You know what I'm saying? We're all learning about this. Yes, the devil can change. Our lower selves can change. You know, you want to attract what you actually are. So always work on you. Do better. Do the best you can. Take the high road. Be a great person. Love yourself. Never give up on that. You are great. You're awesome. You're definitely worth it. Mwah. What in the fuck? Love thyself, words of affirmations, affirmational self. I am the bestest thing to ever happen. Make it so.